Well, there's a lot of dudes, unfortunately, who just get on YouTube and they listen to very charismatic people talk that don't know what they're talking about, which I do all the time. But they do it in a way where they pretend they know something is true that's not true.
Yeah.
And people get sucked into it.
Hey YouTube world, Harvest is Plenty. Thanks for stopping by. Please don't forget to hit that like button for me. So as I start to move into the sterilization of the hierarchy from Madame Blavatsky, a lot of information will be coming out attacking the church, attacking the Bible, from a lot of different people. The push has begun as they move into their final stages of the agenda. And so Billy here, third degree Freemason, he's out making his rounds on Joe Rogan, on a lot of big channels. He's garnering millions and millions of views on these channels. And a lot of people are in the comment section. You know, they're co-signing or co-witnessing to everything that Billy is saying. But I don't believe these people fact check Billy at all. And also, Billy doesn't let the people know that he's a Freemason. I mean, here he is. He took a picture with the third degree thing right here over his shoulder, letting people know, for those who have eyes to see, that Billy is down with the brotherhood. This is not a Photoshop or anything like that. This is Billy, 33rd degree. Here's another picture of Billy real quick before we jump into the subject. He's being interviewed and he has the Freemasonic square and compass on his t-shirt, for those who have eyes to see. Do you guys see that? And for those of you who don't know what the Freemasonic square and compass look like, this is what it looks like. And Billy here, he has it on his shirt. You know, he doesn't come out and say, hey guys, I'm a Freemason and let me tell you what I believe and what I think. He doesn't do that. Instead, he starts talking with this air of authority, with confidence, and people just believe him. You know, well, let's jump into the subject of today and clear up some things and some lies that Billy is telling on his circuit.
Obviously, with translation, you're going to find differences when people are explaining the meaning of certain things.
I'll give you one big translation that's off is they say, well, Jesus was crucified.
Whoa.
Well, that doesn't exist in the Sinai Bible.
What happened?
It doesn't exist in the book of Barnabas.
It's a fire name, Barnabas.
I know. But they left that out of the Bible on purpose, by accident.
So how did they kill him?
They didn't kill him. In Harvard Library, there is a book of Jesus' wife at the Harvard Seminary School, and they found that about 8 years ago.
Jesus' wife is the Mary Magdalene?
Yeah.
So she was not actually...
They're assuming it's Mary Magdalene. It doesn't specifically say, but let's assume that it is, which means he probably had kids, and his Merovingian bloodline is still probably walking the land till this very day.
Wow.
So if you guys remember the movie The Matrix with Keanu Reeves and Lawrence Fishburne, who played the role of Morpheus, and the girl played the role of Trinity, there was a scene where they had to locate Neo. And so Trinity and Morpheus went to see the Merovingian, and they were trying to get information on how to gain access to Neo. And so that's one of the movies that depicts the Merovingian. Now, who are the Merovingian? The Merovingian is a ruling family of the Franks from around the middle of the 5th century until 751. Now, the Merovingians, if you trace their bloodline back and you read anything about their history, they never claimed descent from God or anything like that. Even in Wikipedia, it says this: the dynastic name Merovingi derives from an unattested Frankish form akin to the attested Old English Merovingian, with the final ing being a typical Germanic patronymic whatever suffix. It goes on to say, unlike the Anglo-Saxon royal genealogies, the Merovingians never claimed descent from a god, nor is there evidence that they were regarded as sacred. Again, the Merovingians never claimed descent from God, nor is there any evidence that they were regarded as sacred. And so he was lying about that. But if you do a little bit more research, Masonic researcher and author Lawrence Gardner, he wrote a book called Realm of the Ring Lords. Now, if you remember the previous video I did on the dragon bloodlines from the Game of Thrones and House of Dragons, these are all Nephilim bloodline families. Gardner, he's a Mason, he's a Masonic author and researcher. Here's what he said. He said, the Nephilim were banished to the center of the earth for disobeying God by mating with the daughters of men and teaching them the forbidden arts. In this publication, the Nephilim has been identified as the fathers of the Merovingians. So, Masonic researcher and Arthur Gardner, he said that the Merovingians could trace their bloodlines back to the Nephilim. And that's the Sacred Grail bloodline that Dan Brown was talking about, was trying to hide. Instead of saying that these secret bloodlines go back to the Nephilim and the fallen angels, he said, oh, they go back to Jesus Christ having kids with Mary Magdalene. And we're going to get into that as well.
In Harvard Library, there is a book of Jesus' wife at the Harvard Seminary School, and they found that about 8 years ago.
Jesus' wife is the Mary Magdalene?
Yeah.
So she was not actually...
They're assuming it's Mary Magdalene. It doesn't specifically say, but let's assume that it is.
So for someone who claims to be one of the world's leading experts on ancient texts, this is a pretty shocking claim. When he claims that they found a book that says that Jesus had a wife, of course, he's wrong.
You can look it up.
It wasn't at all a book that they found. What they found was a small fragment, this one right here. This is a tiny piece of papyrus that has a small inscription on it that says, Jesus said to them, my wife. And that's what he's basing his claim off of. But the only problem is, as Billy has to know, not only was it not a book that was found, the fragment was also found to be a forgery from someone who wrote that inscription on an old piece of papyrus. You can't even Google Jesus' wife without seeing tons of articles on it. Harvard was initially fooled into thinking that it was legit, only to later retract their claims after proving that it was a forgery. So his claim is quite literally fiction, not history.
That's in, what was that great book, the Dan Brown book, the Da Vinci Code?
Da Vinci Code, yeah.
Yes.
So guys, Billy said that there was a book written at Harvard that said that Jesus had a wife. Well, here's an article, CNN. How a mysterious man fooled a Harvard scholar into believing the gospel of Jesus' wife was real. Turned out it was a forgery. It was a fake. And here she is, Karen King, the Harvard scholar, holding a fragment of a papyrus that she dubbed the gospel of Jesus' wife. See, it's not a gospel, and it's not a book. It was a little piece of a fragment of a papyrus, and they come out with a whole thing about Jesus had a wife. Turned out it was a forgery, a fake. I don't know why this Harvard scholar didn't do more research into the guy who brought this information to her or into the papyrus itself. But here's an article in the Atlantic. It said, Karen King responds to the unbelievable tale of Jesus' wife. The Harvard scholar says papyrus is probably a forgery. Now, this Harvard scholar, she goes on to say this. Let me scroll down a little bit. This is her words out of her mouth. She said, quote, I had no idea about this guy, obviously. He lied to me. He lied to me. And so the interviewer at Atlantic, they asked her, he says, I asked why she hadn't undertaken an investigation of the papyrus origins or the owner's background. Her response was, your article has helped me to see that provenance can be investigated, she said. She went on to make a confession that it was a forgery. So I'm not sure what she wanted to gain from this forgery. If she wanted to take down Christianity, I don't know. I don't know her intentions or anything, and I'm not going to try to, say anything that I don't know. But it was a forgery, and you would think that a Harvard scholar would do more research before she presented to the world. Now, Billy Carson, is he going around the internet telling people that it wasn't a book, that it was a fake and a forgery, and that it was only a copy of a papyrus? No, this guy's telling it as a whole book. He doesn't retract the information because he's a liar and deceiver. Here's another article. Harvard scholar admits gospel of Jesus' wife is likely a forgery. It then goes on to say, if the gospel of Jesus' wife sounds a bit like something out of a Dan Brown novel or an episode of the X-Files, that's because the Harvard scholar who introduced it to the world now admits that it is a fake. There it is. The gospel of Jesus' wife is a fake, admitted by the Harvard scholar. Now, Dan Brown. Here's Dan Brown. Here's another article from the Independent. It said, the Freemasons Code. Dan Brown reveals the message that told him that the door to the lodge is open. See, I told you guys, a lot of these people who are bashing Jesus Christ, the gospel, the church, and all of that stuff, these people are all tied into the Freemasonic Lodge. The same thing about the Anunnaki and UFOs and all of that stuff, like Stephen Greer and all of them. A lot of those guys are also tied into the Freemasonic Lodge. And people just believe them. Look at this article. Look what it says. His best-selling novels illuminate the shadowy organizations that supposedly run the world. But Dan Brown was honored, quote-unquote, to receive an invitation to join the Freemasons, the arcane fraternity whose tentacles are said to extend into the highest echelons of power. Tonight, the Da Vinci Code author made a rare public appearance discussing his latest book in front of 1,500 fans in London. The choice of venue? Freemasons Hall, the headquarters of the United Grand Lodge of England, reflects the author's fascination with the male-dominated medieval society founded in London, which has long been the center of conspiracy theories about its supposed global influence. Here's what Dan Brown says in his own words. Quote, "I would be honored to be a Mason," Brown told the Independent before the event. Quote, "You don't get invited by the Masons, but they send a clear message that the door is open if I ever wanted to join." Brown continues, "I have nothing but admiration for an organization that essentially brings people of different religions together, which is what they do. Rather than saying we need to name God, they use symbols such that everybody can stand together." End of quote. That was Dan Brown, Da Vinci Code author, where Jesus supposedly had kids. And those kids are the Grail bloodline. You guys see the lies now? The secret Grail bloodline is that all these bloodlines can trace their lineage back to our ancestry, back to the Nephilim. That's why all presidents of the United States are from the same bloodline. I did a video called President's Day. Scroll through the channel, locate President's Day, take a look at it. All presidents are Freemasons as well. So hopefully you guys could kind of connect some dots and see what's going on here and see where the attacks are coming from. There's a lot of people out there that's bashing Christianity, but they never tell their viewers, their subscribers, by the way, I'm also a 33rd degree Freemason. And that's why I'm saying the things that I'm saying. But anyway, guys, that's all I have for you today. I love you guys. Hold fast to what's true. Develop a prayer life. Understand the scriptures. Don't let these people deceive you. These people are serpent whisperers. They're liars just like their father, the devil, who was a liar, a thief, and a murderer from the beginning. All right. God bless to you and your family.
In watching his interviews, I came across a clip that might be able to help explain why Billy seems to be particularly focused on refuting the Bible. In this clip, he talks about a traumatic experience that followed from what he believed to be his second encounter with aliens.
I had a second experience in 2010, which is well documented. I've talked about it. It took years to come out about it because I basically lost my whole family over this. And, whew. Man, hold on.
Whoa.
Sorry.
No.
What do you have, big freak? What's up, man?
No.
You know, lost my family, created a lot of dissension. I remember we were on the highway one day and my wife was driving at the time, my ex-wife, and she slammed on the brakes and, you know, it was like, just get out of the car, you know, because it was the kids were scared. And I was like, I'm sticking to my story. I'm not changing my story because this really happened to me. And they just didn't want to hear it. But her parents were Jehovah's Witnesses, so everything was of the devil, you know?
So it's at least possible that one of the reasons for why he seems to be so set on going against the Bible is because following these experiences that he believed that he had, the religious people in his life said that it was of the devil and seemed to shun him for it. And I'm sure that there's a lot more to this story that he didn't mention here, but I wouldn't be shocked if this played a bigger role than we realize in his attacks on Christianity.